Susan, Stacy. Hey guys, welcome. Let us know where you're coming from today. We'd love to just give us a little shout in the chat. Let us know. There we go. Oh, Gisela says hi, Lisa and Tara. Hello back.
I saw that one.
And then we've got Marianne, Janine. Oh, lots of people coming on. They're all flooding in now, Tara, so that's awesome. We've got, oh, wow. Hi, ladies. Francis from Fort Lauderdale. We've got North Carolina, someone from Raleigh. Gisela loves your room. I know. I'm so jealous. Oh, we've got someone from Newfoundland, which is great. Lots of people giving us a shout out. So yeah, just if you haven't already, say hello. Let us know where you're coming from. I'm sitting here with Tara Fingold, and we're going to have an interesting chat today about how to overcome disruption. And there's lots of disruptors happening and have been happening over the course of really the last 5 years in a really strong, effective way. And the last one being what we're facing right now. So Tara has been able to overcome a lot of that with some really innovative thinking. And she's got some great ideas, and we're happy to share them with you. So as you're coming on, just give us a shout out, let us know where you're coming from. We've got people from all over today, Newfoundland and North Carolina. I think we have some of the West Coast going to be joining us today. So yeah, so that's great. So just for the people that are here now, oh, we've got someone from, Calgary is coming on. Charlene, hey, how are you? We are doing a webinar format today, so we cannot see you, but we can certainly see your messages. So feel free, oh, San Diego, awesome. Feel free to leave comments in the chat. And there's also a Q&A, so if you have questions, we're going to go through some questions that I'm going to be asking Tara and have a conversation, and then after that we're going to open up the questions for you. So at any point during the webinar, if you have questions, just throw them in the Q&A, and then we will address them at the end. So oh, we got someone from Pembroke Pines, Florida. Where is Pembroke Pines other than Florida? Like, where is it, on the West Coast or on the East Coast?
I think it's on the east.
Is it?
I think it's near Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, lovely. Because when you go there, you are on the East Coast as well, Tara.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great. We'll just wait for a couple more people to pop in here, and then we will get started. If you're just coming in, give us a shout out. Let us know where you are from. I noticed that we have a couple of people like Pat that are joining us from they had been on another designer chat earlier on in the week. So you are our final of the week, Tara. So you better make it good.
Okay. Is it the end of the week? Is that what day it is today?
No, well, it's Thursday.
You're right. Almost the end of the week.
Almost
if there is such a thing right now.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, she says, Angela says that it's between Fort Lauderdale and Miami.
Right.
Near the Everglades. It's west. Awesome, thank you. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. We've got some people popping in, but we're going to get started because we recognize your time is really precious, as is Tara's. So my name is Lisa Nicol. If you hadn't joined us on a previous chat, and I'm the Senior Vice President of JF Fabrics. And I am really happy to be chatting today with Tara Fingold. And Tara is a very well-known Toronto designer. And she's a great customer of JF's, but she's also been published in House and Home, Style at Home, Kitchen and Bath magazines, many national Canadian newspapers. She's won the Design Guild Award. She's been on TV. She's been an expert on the Stephen and Chris show. And I think you also collaborated with HGTV on some other things as well. So as I said, a really, really well-known designer, just really fabulous at her craft, but equally as impressive is Tara's ability to kind of overcome disruption in general. And, you know, when we typically talk about disruption, we talk about, you know, the Wayfarers of the world, and, you know, all these companies that are kind of shaking things up and disrupting the way things are normally done. Well, today we're going to be talking about that, but we're also going to be talking about where we're at right now, and that it's a huge disruptor. And it's a disruptor not only in the literal sense, but also moving forward. It's going to change the way we think. Tara and her team have an uncanny ability to adapt to change very, very quickly. And so we thought that was really pivotal and really kind of on point right now. So we asked her to speak, and here she is. So welcome, Tara.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for that introduction. That was so nice. And as you're speaking about change, in my mind, I'm going back to the past 20 years and how much change this industry or being an interior designer has actually had. If you think about it, you know, never before did we have the internet, and did we have the client never had access to so many things that they have today. So I think we are in an industry that has had a lot of change over the past few years, or probably in the past, since the internet, I would say the past 10 years, I've seen the biggest change in my business, where the customer is very savvy. So yes, this is obviously a catastrophic change to us on the most human level of health and all other types of financial, and there's so many other things. But I think we have been in an industry that has started to change rapidly, and we've been sort of riding out those curves the whole way. So it's not just right now, but yes, obviously right now is the scariest, I would say.
Right, absolutely. I would love for everyone to just get a little bit of your background before we get into the disruption conversation. So just a little bit about you, where you kind of where you grew up, how you even got into design.
Sure. So, I mean, I've always, and I think probably a lot of designers can relate to this, I've always loved design. I remember from when I was a little girl, I'd come home maybe when I was 10 years old and start moving around the furniture and doing things like that. So that I always knew I wanted to do something with interiors and with home. But I started my career actually in commercial design. I did all the stores for Calvin Klein across Canada. And that was actually my first job. I was lucky enough that was my first job. And we would set up all the stores across all the, across Canada, and based on the US directives from Calvin Klein. So I really learned what it was like from the beginning, setting up a shop and set construction and management, and how to facilitate a project, which probably was the most important thing that I ever learned, and has helped us carry through, because as we all know, this is all about coordination, facilitation, jumping through hoops for people, and when things don't go according to plan, how do we deal with it? Right. So that was how I started in commercial design. And for me, as much as I love the commercial aspect, I knew I wanted to do something more with the client. So have that hand-in-hand relationship to build with the client. Right. So slowly I started to start my own business, and then one thing led to another, and we grew into a business now where I have a team of designers and we work collaboratively together.
Wonderful. And that's right on a really busy, fabulous street right in the heart of the city. So it's really, it's a beautiful spot, by the way. I've had the pleasure of being there. Mm-hmm. And so, Tara, what would you say is different about your business strategy back then versus what it is today?
That's very interesting. So I think that my business strategy has had to chameleon and bend to what the market has required from us. And we now have to almost be the quarterback on a project. And that's been our business strategy, is what we're able to do is offer the clients a cohesive approach rather than just coming in and doing a room here, a room there. We are advocates for our clients now. We do a lot of building, a lot of renovating, building from scratch. And we have become, now there's so many consultants and so many bits and pieces to a project that we bring in. There's the builder, there's the architect, there's a landscape designer, there's a lighting designer, there's an AV consultant. There's so many people that come into play when someone is designing a home, that my strategy has been, we are here to be the quarterback. We're here to lead your design process and integrate all those elements into that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so with that in mind, we talked about a lot of disruption in the last, 5-10 years, as you say. I think probably the most common that we hear from many designers is, the internet, e-commerce, the ease of the kind of their customers or end users purchasing, throwing out Amazon Home or Wayfair, or, those type, Etsy. How do you compete with that?
I think that's been a really big factor, and I'm sure we can all relate to this, is when, in the past probably, and I think in the States, they have more access to things online too than we do. But, when a client comes to us and says, well, why can't, we're just going to go to Restoration Hardware and order it, or there's a consultant there that can just help us and curate the room for us. And our response to something like that is, yes, you can do that if you want that cookie cutter look, but don't we want something that's more personal to us? And though there's nothing wrong with going in and buying stuff on a Wayfair or an Amazon or Pottery Barn or whatever it has to be, but where's that personalization? And just because it worked in this one vignette in the room doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the right look or even the right budget for you, right? That has come down to even how we dress with fashion. There's the Zara price point all the way to the designer, and it's a matter, what we like to say to the client is, it's bringing it all together and curating little bits and pieces from each place. And there's nothing wrong with something from Amazon or from Wayfair, but you want your whole house to be from there. Most people would say no, and that's where I think our value add is as a designer.
Right. I mean, I know that we've had the conversations about Wayfair in the past, and, your approach to it had been that you will work with the client, to help with those choices, even on Wayfair, not entirely, but, for pieces here and there. And, one of the things, I was telling you a story about my daughter, who recently just got her own place and ordered something on Wayfair. And so she ordered it with, I was like a TV stand / kind of old vintage hi-fi looking, really, really cool. And
yeah, sounds
not paying attention. She's just looking at the way it looked in the room, which I think
right.
people do, and ordered it. And it was so small and so cheap that, she ended up, it wasn't worth sending it back. She ended up using it somewhere else. But I think everyone's had that experience. And so you had said something really interesting to me, which is, you will work with your customers in order to, to make those purchases, but it's your eyes that look at the specs and look
right. So I think that's a really important, when we go back to a business strategy, is we have to, the internet's not going away. Wayfair is not going away. How do we pivot our design approach to accommodate clients that want to do that? So in my opinion, what we would do is, and exactly what happened to your daughter is, she didn't know that the dimensions weren't going to work and it was going to be too deep or too wide or whatever. But our value add as a designer is being able to say to a client, okay, this is why we went to school. This is why we have our training, is let us draw the room out. Let us scale in these pieces of furniture that you found on Wayfair or that you found wherever. And we will we will work with you to help make those decisions that are correct. And without a proper floor plan, I will not order anything for a client. Like if a client calls me up and says, oh, we found this table, we're going to buy it. It's kind of buyer beware. Until I get all those specs and we get the exact, width, depth, height, everything, and plunk that into the floor plan or even check measure at their house, we can't really help them. And then they get it. And we've all had those stories of a client calling us up and said, okay, we have a boo-boo, we ordered a sofa, it won't fit up the stairs, or we didn't realize that 46 inches deep is too deep for our family room. So we've all heard those stories, and that is our value as designers, that we are able to say through our experience that we know that a 46-inch deep sofa is not correct, or we know, had we have check measured to see that, yes, it was a great idea to put that record console in, but did it get checked? Are we sure that the wood was going to match the existing pieces in the room? Those are all what brings a room together. And that's what our role as a designer and how we have to pivot and approach our value to the client. That is our value.
Right. And, I think that in itself is, explaining that to the client up front.
Yeah.
A lot of clients, I think, will say to designers, well, I want to do this, but then I'll just get the rest on Wayfair, or, do my home, but my cottage, I'm going to furnish with, restoration or whatever.
Right.
And, which is all fine, but there's still a place for a designer in those choices. And
there's absolutely a place, and we need to find our place. And I don't think it should be discouraging. It's a matter of pivoting and finding our place and our value in that. So do we create a mood board with the piece from Wayfair and with the piece from West Elm and with all that, and show our clients how we're going to bring all that in together? That's a value that we can offer to a client. But to start purchasing, in the other thing we always advocate to a client is to start purchasing a la carte and just buying things is never works out.
Right. And now I know that you have curated certain things for your line. You have a Terra Fingold line that you've curated fabrics, I believe, and you've got some other things that you've curated where you said to me your margins are better, so that it makes it a little bit, it evens out the margin on, charging
Right.
less, or, just charging a small fee for when you're making those, helping the customers make the choices with the Wayfair.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're able to do things where we have tried, true, and tested fabrics or drapery, or and we know that the look can work in different environments, we've been able to curate certain fabrics and lines, that great staple pieces that have proven to work really well in different types of rooms. So for instance, beautiful white linen or beautiful dove gray linen, we know that that is a staple that our clients can live with for many, many years. And if we're able to buy it at a bulk price point, or a price point that we know we can offer good value, good quality to the client, and be able to say it after years of working with the material, then that to us has been an extremely valuable business proposition.
Right. And so, moving on to today,
Mm-hmm.
the 23rd of April, what does that look like? We talked, and obviously there's been a lot of discussion about change,
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like today, and what that looks like moving forward. How is your business today?
So that's really interesting. And from the first day that this happened, and when we had to move to home and our staff had to set up at home and set remotely, is we've stopped doing, so any of our construction sites, we've stopped doing site visits to any construction sites that are ongoing, where we usually are hands-on and we go over to the site, and I'm sure like everyone knows, you check the tile, you check how the cabinets are lining up. So what we have found is we've been relying really, really heavily on our trades to FaceTime, WhatsApp, Zoom meetings. And it's actually, after we worked out the first glitches of the first few days, what we're able to do now, because our clients have always been so busy, like they're both working, and we if we want to ask them questions, they can't get to us till night, and it's really hard for them to get to a job site, is we're able to all communicate together, to have, myself and one of my senior designers, and we can Zoom in with the contractor on site and with the clients, and we're able to make quick decisions, and really good decisions, without slowing down the job site. Whereas I used to have to go to a job site and say, you know what, let me take photos of this, let me go back to my office and redraw it and then resubmit it to the client for approval. We are finding that this is happening much more efficiently right now. We have some really great site supers working on these construction projects that we've said to them, call us, FaceTime us, please do not hesitate. If you have a tile question or whatever you have, just keep us in the loop. And it's actually working much more efficiently right now than it has in the past. So this is something, when we get back to normal, that I think we're going to start instituting, having maybe weekly or twice weekly, when we're in the middle of a construction process, these FaceTime calls or Zoom calls with the client.
One of the conversations that we had, this came up, and I know it's something a term we all kind of use, but it's, work smarter, not harder. And that's a prime example of that very thing. And I think that's what these past days have really taught us, is what we actually can achieve. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right, Lisa. And even, from with you and I, is usually, we make appointments to see each other and to talk about the fabrics. And it's been so much more fluid. Granted, it's not tactile the way, and we really miss that. But to have these conversations, and I think we've been in such a rush, and having these long meetings before, and everything being stuck to a schedule, actually has maybe not been the most efficient way to do things.
Right.
And I think that we will learn something from this, and we will have new systems in place.
Right.
That can benefit us, and maybe we won't be as rushed as we were before.
Or maybe we'll find other things to busy ourselves with, which I hope
maybe that too. Maybe that too. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
You had spoken to me before about, every designer needs to find their specific area of genius, or their core talent or core competency, outside of the general idea of interior design. One of the things, I know, I'll let you say what it is, but I thought it was really interesting. And I think these are your words to me, that helps with disruption. If you know what you're good at and you sell that, it's easy to overcome objections of people kind of wanting to go elsewhere. So you would talk to me about, your zone being well-curated rooms. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Okay, so where I have found that we shine, where Fingold Interiors shines, and what we do best, is when we're able to offer a client a cohesive package. So the entire room, all the way down, the drapery, the sofas, but all the way down to the end tables, the lamps, all the accessories in the room. I think that's where we are able to say to our clients, when they go on our website or they look at pictures on Instagram, and I say to them, you know, they're like, we like this room. And I said, what do you like about this room? And they don't know what they like. Oh, they like the blue sofa. It's not what it is. It's that they like that the room is complete and curated. And where we have found our sort of niche is saying to that client, yes, that's what we can offer you, is we can offer you, you're never going to go out, you know, down the road in a year from now, if you don't buy that end table now, you're never going to go out and buy that end table. You're never going to be able to find the time to do that.
Right.
So, you know, that's something that is never going to happen. And that's something that we can definitely offer to you.
Right. Is that someone at your door?
Yeah. I actually think it's the police stopping my son from walking the dog.
Oh no. Do you have to,
Yeah,
you
I'm
want to
looking
go?
out the window. That's good. I heard they're giving out tickets here for that.
For walking the dog?
Well, apparently, like if you go to the park with the dog or something, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, here it is happening live.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tara, we're looking at one of your rooms right now.
Yeah.
This is, you know, when you talk about a well-curated room, I've got a few more I'd like to show everyone, but
Okay.
this space is beautiful.
So, okay. So that's a kitchen that we designed actually. And that's your, I think your Belfast linen in the background, my favorite drape. That's a JF plug. But what we did here is, this is obviously a home that has a beautiful backyard and a beautiful vista to the backyard. The kitchen was white. We weren't really sure that what we were going to do with the ceiling. And this just happened in transition. When we were on the construction site, I thought, this is just going to be a big white ceiling. We need to warm this up somehow. And what we wound up doing is strapping, that's just tongue and groove board that I inverted, strapped to the ceiling. And that added that depth, that added the warmth, that made it sort of, it finished the room. And that wasn't intended in the beginning.
Right.
But that's where we got it to be. And that's been one of our, you know, one of people come to us with that photo all the time, that they love that kitchen. It's a simple white kitchen. It doesn't get much, you know, it's so simple, and it's just little elements of glam.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
And is this the same home here?
Yeah. So this is the same home. And again, they wanted a place that they could curl up in the living room. We didn't want to do a conventional living room. So they wanted to have a certain sort of place that they could look out the window. And that sofa, again, it's all really durable fabrics. And we just kept it really tonal and peaceful.
Beautiful. And this same house?
No, that's a different house. Again, this is another living room where they wanted to keep it really, really peaceful, and just all, and the interesting thing is with the past two white living rooms you've shown, both of these clients, I think, have 3 to 4 kids in the house. Wow. So if anyone ever comes to me and says, you know, how can this be practical? It's like every fabric here is wipeable, as we know. Right. So, and that's really interesting. What I was thinking is, you would think this would be so precious, but it's not.
Right. This is fun.
Yeah. So I'm sure these people are loving doing this right now. That's a home theater that we did in a house. And it was just a room in the basement. Like, it looks really, really fancy, and it's really not. All it was an extra room in the house. And even though we tiered it with the carpet, we just paneled the walls, put in some paneling. Those are actually laminate boards on the wall, and it's a big giant screen. So I'm sure they're getting a lot of use out of it right now.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. This is lovely.
Yeah. So here's a perfect example of this. We did the client came with nothing. This is one of our favorite projects because we were able to do this room top to bottom. So all the accessories in the wall unit, that's actually a TV hanging above. It's the art TV that converts. But this is where, again, we shine, and we're able to deliver to a client a completely curated, finished room. So in the morning, it's like from a TV show. In the morning, the furniture comes in, we style everything, and they came home at the end of the day. And it was like this.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty too.
Okay, these are two separate projects. So on the right is, that's a condominium on the right. So that we just completed that, and these clients actually brought us with them to see. They weren't sure if they were going to purchase the condo because it was empty when they bought it, so they weren't sure how it was going to furnish. But there's a couple vintage. The coffee table was a vintage piece actually, so that was actually a blend of different types of furniture.
Right.
And then on the left, that kitchen, these people were lucky enough to have a lot of space in their kitchen. So we didn't even have to, we had to, see how there's the open shelves in front of the window?
Beautiful.
They're looking at a brick wall behind there. So it wasn't a great view. Right. So that was our solution to that view, is putting things on the open shelves.
Oh, what a great idea, but still obviously.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? And even those light fixtures. So that light fixture, now I'm remembering what we did there, is those were just individual pendants. And we kind of thought, I love them. And we didn't have a big budget here for light fixtures. So what we did is we just got a plate. We had the store make us a plate, and then we hung the pictures. We hung the fixtures just in different heights. This was a really inexpensive solution to a really fun light fixture.
Well, and I think those are the types of things that you have shown me in the past where, first of all, it's original, it's unique, and yet competitively priced with something that they would order online from Fair. And, so it's a great way of, kind of educating the client that they don't have to spend a ton and still work through you.
Exactly. And that goes back again, Lisa, to our value add, to being able to have the eye and the creativeness to offer that to our clients. That, like anyone can go on Wayfair and pick a light fixture. Anyone can go into Restoration Hardware and pick a light fixture, but let's do something a little bit different, and let's get something that's the right scale, and kind of let's do something creative that you're not going to see in all your friends' houses.
Right, exactly. This is stunning too.
Oh, thanks. So this is one of our pieces, these coffee tables, these Ottoman coffee tables. We just started, and I've had so much response to these because everyone wants somewhere to put their feet up. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants the storage. And I don't know why these don't exist on the market. So we've just started making them. That's one of our tried and true pieces that just seem to work in so many rooms. And then, sorry?
That's wonderful. It is wonderful for sure.
Yeah. And then we make these big acrylic trays just to put on it so that you can put down drinks and stuff like that. But that has been a piece we developed a few years ago, and we just have had so much success with it in different sizes and different fabrics on top.
I think, being able to overcome disruption is not simple, but easy when you're thinking creatively and you're actually filling a void.
Yeah, I agree. I also was just thinking about going back to how we're going online and we had to immediately figure out how we're going to work with clients and how we're going to work and continue on projects, get new projects. And I do see the one positive thing that could come out of this is that clients want to be part of the process. Most of them. There are those clients that say, here's the keys to our house, buy us our furniture, move us in, and tell us when the sheets are on the bed. There is that type of client.
Right.
But I think we all know that there is more than the client is so savvy right now, and the clients everyone feels they're their own you know, they know, and they're decorators, and they know, even though they're doctors or, you know, lawyers or whatever, they all seem to know everything. But why can't we let them now even be more part of the process?
Yeah.
Why can't we with this integration with technology? So bringing clients into Zoom meetings and being able to, you know, we're sharing our screen now. So now when we're doing a CAD draw, when we're walking a client through floor plans, we're sharing our screen with them. Rather than printing out the piece of paper, we're sharing our screen and showing them walking through the house, and they're saying, well, why'd you put a sofa there, not a chair? And we'll show them live what it looks like
That's
to move
amazing.
that around, or we'll show them how much volume drapes take up in the room live. So we're making them actually more part of the process. And I do think that that's what the market has wanted.
Well, and actually it's brilliant because making them more a part of the process actually increases your value in their minds. You know,
Correct.
yeah,
Correct. And that's what we've been trying to do. And that's what also I've been encouraging my designers to do is we need to connect with those clients more so now than ever. Is there, you know, when we're working on a project and we're in the middle of it and everything's specified and you don't wind up speaking to the client for a few weeks. No, I want to touch base with that client now. Now more than ever do we need to connect.
mhm,
And whether it's reaching out in an email, picking up the phone, which has been such a rare thing to us, is I'm reaching out to my clients and I want to hear their voices.
right.
And, you know, even past clients and saying, hey, how did your home theater work out for you? Are you guys enjoying it? Did those sofas work? Or really, really connecting with them. And I think that if we can view this disruption and try and pull out some positive to it, I think that that would be one thing, is that is allowing them to be, obviously with boundaries, part of the process.
Right. Right. No, that's super smart. And then speaking of, you know, change and you know, moving on in this new world, I suppose, you know, along with that piece of advice, do you have any other advice that you would say to our guests today? Something that you've learned in the past or just learning recently that you think would be of value to them?
Yeah. So the other thing that's come up for me in the past few years is I think we get into this cycle of going on social media or going on Instagram. And I know for me, speaking of myself, is that I see all these young designers coming up with so many, you know, they're constantly on social media and posting and sometimes in my mind I think, geez, should I be doing that? It doesn't feel authentic to me. It doesn't feel right to me. So I've had to say to myself, stop, think about what feels true to your set, to me and to my brand and what's been successful over the past 20 years, and stay true to that. And everything that I continue on with now is the same values that I started with my business, of
Mhm.
offering good customer service, of being humble, of being really, really involved with the clients, involved with the contractors, involved with my workrooms and my trades, and that's what feels authentic to me. And I think that staying with that intuition and staying with that authenticity is a big value lesson, even just to myself, is staying true to that.
Right. And, you know, it's true because, you know, what we've been talking about is with designers is whatever you want your brand to be, make sure that that carries through all touch points, whether they're
Right.
your actual behavior or your digital behavior and your digital aesthetic and so on. And so
Right.
when I obviously follow you on Instagram, and it your the way in which you post and what you post very much matches who you are. It's very
Mhm.
humble, it's very modest, it's beautiful, but it's true. So I think, and it feels very authentic because that's what feels natural for you to do. I mean, obviously you recognize you need to be on there, but the way in which you choose to be on there is all you. And that's a really, really good point.
Right. Yeah. It's really, really, I'm so grateful to my clients. I'm grateful to my trades. And and I also want to be mindful of not exposing too much of my clients' privacy. And it's obviously up to them, but that's it. And very little of personal stuff for me. That's what I've always tried to keep, when I don't post pictures of my home, and I don't do
Oh my gosh, and you should. This is so beautiful.
I don't know. It feels funny to me. It feels it feels that it's I don't know. It's my one little safe place that feels that I hold tight. So that's just me.
Oh, well, it's absolutely Tara, I spoke to her yesterday in a different room just to say hi and make sure she was all good. And then now she's in this beautiful room. Anyway, your house is lovely.
Thanks.
So Tara, I think I don't want to cut you short if you want to add anything else, but and if you don't, then we can open it up to some questions. But
I'm happy to open it up.
Great. Okay, well, I have a couple of comments here, and then I have a couple of questions that I don't know if you can see. I think they
No, you're gonna have to read to me.
Yeah, and some of them I think are just to me. But anyway, Carol Sobieski says, thank you, Lisa, and JF Fabrics for hosting these. They're so valuable. That's great. And Kathy Preston says, awesome chat. And I have an anonymous one asking about your shelves in the back of your door.
So as we were talking about before, this is my dining room. This used to be, it's a 1920s house. And so I had this big living room, which we never used. So we decided to convert it to the dining room. But when we first converted it to the dining room, again, I had the conventional table. And the table didn't work. We weren't using it because it was just too formal. So what we decided to do is we needed storage. So we designed these back. They're brass. So they're brass bronze, actually. So they're antique bronze, and they house. I wanted to display my silver. I thought everything's behind the cabinet doors, and why not display it? So we did a bar in one and silver storage in the other, and then the fireplace. And it's still, let me move over for you. It's still a wood burning fireplace. Oh. My husband was adamant in not converting it to glass.
Oh, that is absolutely stunning.
So thanks. And we've gone and the tables, as I was showing you before, the tables are convertible. So we've done vignettes. I'll do a post of this, but we've done vignettes. So it's not one big table. It's little tables that either can seat 4 or 6. And it's really, really fun. And especially what you and I were talking about yesterday, what's interesting is that I think now more than ever, these rooms, our homes have to be multifunctional.
Yeah.
They have to be, it can't just be a dining room. It can't just be a family room. It has to function for different, obviously we couldn't have predicted this was going to happen, that we'd all be home for months, but it works for 4 people, it works for 10 people, or my home office actually is a lounge too. So it is convertible to a small little den. So I think when designing, I think it's really important that we go with these perspective.
Right. No, I thought that was brilliant, because we were talking about how your husband wanted to put doors on everything, and why do we need doors? And now you're so grateful for them because you're
right,
home,
right,
peace and quiet. And
exactly. Yeah.
I have a little bit more here. Tammy says, thank you again for the great conversation. She also agrees that too much social is not a good thing. And then Jennifer says, after the 2008 crash, there were many clients who felt they could negotiate design fees down to nothing. This continued to be a problem in LA for years. After 16 years in business, I'm getting better at charging what I am worth, but it's still a challenge. What advice do you have for designers dealing with clients who have money but feel entitled to cut your fees during the economic downturns? Oh, that's a good question.
That's a really good question. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. So the past few weeks when we have had new business, we've been lucky enough to have had some new businesses, the clients have asked, is there, obviously money is tight for everyone right now, and but what I've tried to say is, how can we work with you and maybe not cut the fees, but adding a service or figuring out a different payment plan. So maybe not taking as big as a retainer, because that money might not be accessible right now, but what would you feel comfortable? I'm not so sure I'm comfortable cutting fees. And I think our value is offering in a different, adding in a service that we can do. And I think that that is fair. And I think it makes the client feel like they're getting something, and it makes us feel valued and that we're giving something. But I'm not sure about cut, if it's a little bit, maybe if it's a make or break negotiation, but adding about, sorry, I'm just reading this coming in, but I think adding in a service is the best way to go.
Right. Okay, that's a great point. We have some more questions. How about phases? Oh, I think she's speaking in addition to what you're saying, is instead of cutting fees, being a little bit more negotiable. Let's work in phases that work with you can do some kind of mini budgets that works in phases, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know even people now are getting paid differently, right? So I just read an article that the doctors aren't getting paid till July.
Right.
So then that's something we can definitely talk about if it's a client you trust. And I think that that's what it comes down to, of working with our clients. We are in a luxury business, but I don't think we should be giving anything away. We're very grateful to have clients, and of course we all want to keep our businesses going, but I think it has to be a give and take.
Right.
People have to value what we do.
Right. And I think that's been something, Tara, the key ingredient that all of the designers that I know that are, ultimately quite successful, is that they're still quite humble, and that they hold the value of what they do, and they never let that go. And that's, it's kind of difficult to, remain humble, but still have that in mind. But they're two mutually exclusive things. And a lot of designers, I think, when they feel like they need to cut their fees, they need to be reminded of the value that they provide, and feel, proud of that.
Right. And if you are going to cut your fee, you have to be okay with that and not resentful about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that that's a way to carry on a project. So I think that, for instance, I just negotiated a contract with someone, and he wanted to know if there's anything he could do on the fee. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna add in X amount of site visits, which I normally charge. So I felt that that was fair.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a win-win for everybody. And I didn't feel comfortable cutting the fee and going back to, as we said, like going back to our 2008 pricing,
Right.
because the cost of living isn't coming down. Mm-hmm. So why would we haven't raised our fees, and the cost of goods is not coming down.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But I think we can add value.
It's going the other way.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions here in the Q&A. When combining single light fixtures into one fixture, who is a tradesman? Who does that? Oh, so you said you did that, yeah.
Right. So you can, I do it through my lighting store. So that's something that they offer, or your electrician can offer. So I work really closely with Universal Lights, and they make you can order these big plates, and we can talk about posting that after. And you order plates, and you just fish through the pendants, and there's one and it just goes into one junction box.
So probably most, like Universal is a great place in Toronto,
So,
but
right. And that comes back to our discussion of what's going to happen after this, is that I think all these businesses, when you think about it, even a lighting store, they're going to have to work with us and offer different types of services. I think we're going to get really service heavy, and that's going to be, as designers, that's going to be our value add, is we need to, and our stores that, again, we rely on, and our suppliers are going to have to be, we're going to have to work even tighter with them, or we're going to have even more connective, resourceful, stand behind relationships with them.
Right.
And that's where we got into the discussion yesterday about, shopping local and that kind of stuff, is that I've always had, and this is a really big thing for me, is close relationships with my suppliers. I'm only as good as my suppliers. I can't make your sofa, I can't paint your room, but I can't build your kitchen. But my relationships with my suppliers have been I'm so grateful to them. Even now, when during this pandemic, I mean, it keeps me up at night, because construction is a mandatory in Toronto, is an essential service. So my construction sites are still going on. So, the expectation is that the kitchens are still being installed. And I thank God for my trades that are showing up, and I just hope that they stay safe. But the relationships that we've built over the past 20 years, I've been using the same kitchen guy, the same upholsterer, the same drapery place. Those relationships, I think, are going to be even more important. And then when it goes back to these relationships with online retailers that you don't have that connection with, like, how is that valuable to anyone, right? So it's not valuable. And I don't think that we can, I think it goes back to, that is our value as designers, that we can offer that value.
Right. Do you need to, are you good?
Nope, I'm good. I'm
good.
I am good.
One final question we have here for you, Tara, or maybe it's a comment. I haven't read through it yet, but it says, Tara, thank you for sharing your insights. I am blessed to have a substantial and loyal client base as well. So I've never had to do any kind of advertising. Given the current climate, I'm considering investing in some type of business promotion. In your opinion, what is the most effective promotional platform? Social media, Instagram, Facebook business, magazine, print? What's your
I think that's a great question. So I think that the response that surprises me, what has surprised me over the past few years, and when I say to my clients, one of my first questions is, how did you come to us? And how did you hear about us? And when I hear people came through Instagram, it's 99% over the past 20 years has been through word of mouth. But Instagram to me is so big right now. Would be probably we're all just learning how to handle it ourselves.
Right.
So I would say hands down Instagram. That's what we're most proficient on right now.
Right. And then one more question came in just before we part. Once you begun a project and the client begins to add rooms or drapery design, which wasn't part of the original contract, how do you handle these add-ons to ensure the clients understand the additional fees?
Can you repeat that?
So I guess, how do you deal with add-ons during the course of a
project?
I
think that has to be in the contract from the beginning.
Right.
And I think that there has to be an asterisk that should this come up. And again, I think that that's going to come back to, that is a negotiation thing. And I think being upfront with clients and saying, you know, we included doing this, this, and this in the room, and now you've asked us to design this wall unit. I think that that has to all be in the contract. However, you know, I've written into contracts in the past site visits. Well, right now we're not doing site visits. So I had a conversation with a client yesterday saying, you know, we're not doing site visits right now. So I'm going to owe you 3 site visits, or we'll talk about how we're going to work together here with that. And they said to me, oh, Tara, don't be silly. I know you've been talking all day with the, you know, WhatsApping and everything else. So we're really happy. I said, no, but I just want you to, that's noted that I haven't provided you with that. And we will work that out in the end, whether it be I throw in 3 hours of consulting on furniture or whatever it's going to be.
Right.
So I do think that that's going to come up more in the future about those add-ons.
Yeah. And then one last one. Do your design presentations come with 3D images?
We do. We don't. So that's a blessing and a curse. That's interesting, because when we do offer, you know, SketchUp and 3D and all that kind of thing. And sometimes it's too literal for clients. And they'll say, wait, that's not my sconce, or I didn't choose that. And I'm saying, no, I'm just showing that there's a sconce going there. So I don't have a hard answer for that. And I'd be interesting to hear what everyone else does. Is that, yes, we offer them, and yes, we do it. But they're not always the most helpful tool to someone. What we have started to go back to, believe it or not, is hand sketching to show perspective, so that the client can see how the wall unit protrudes, or the client can see the dimension in the space.
Interesting. You are a very popular person. We have, thank you, Tara and JF Fabrics, great presentation. Can Tara share how she charges hourly versus flat fee, and how she structures her initial deposits? Wow, that's a big question. I can ask for, or Tara, how do you want to handle that? We could take that offline if you want, or?
I don't mind discussing it. It's something, and I think it's on a per project basis, is that we do charge flat fee. What we have gotten really good at is there has to be, when we go flat with a client, there has to be a clearly defined scope of work. It has to be so tight that, because we all know that when things start to get off the rails, there has to be a plan in place. We have to know exactly what we're doing in each room, and there has to be a time frame in that, because, you know, I've been retained on projects where we've had a flat fee and the build has gone 3 years.
Wow.
So had it, and I learned through experience that there has to be time fees in it, and there has to be check-in times with the flat fee, and then hourly is just hourly. But I think it's also a conversation that we have with the client of where they're comfortable. That without a clearly defined scope of work, how can we go flat fee? It doesn't work. And when it's a new build and there's something or a room that you're decorating, and we know exactly what's going in the room and what we're going to provide, then that can be broken up and taken some time. How much time is it going to take for us to draw? How much time is it going to take for us to source? Do we have revisions in place? Do we have a contingency for things to be reselected or discontinued? Or what happens when things are damaged and all that type of stuff? But it has to be the right fit for the client, because some clients like hourly, some clients like fixed fee.
Right. And
but
then
again,
that would also include, like, when you do your fixed fee, you add in the time for if they want you planning, doing the full package, curating and furniture and all that stuff.
The biggest hurdle that we get into is when the client starts second guessing. If we have a clearly defined scope of work and we have a clear understanding of the overall look of the room and the direction, as well as a budget from
Right.
the client. The client then there should be, you know, no back and forth, or just a little bit of collaboration of back and forth, or mitigation of any forms of tweaking of the project.
Mhm.
The problems that we've had over the past few years has been when a client has changed the directive.
Right.
So, and I think that that's where clarity from the beginning is so important. And that's, again, goes back to our job as designers, is we have to be confident in our decisions, confident in our directives, and confident in having those honest conversations with the client of what are you trying to achieve? What's your budget here? Up front from the beginning. And then we don't get into those messy areas.
Right. Right. Well, Tara, you've given us so much of your time. Thank you so much. We kept you for longer than
So welcome. Thank you. That was great. Thank you for having me. I'd love to hear feedback and any questions. I'm here if you want to DM or
Great.
whatever
Well,
we do.
we're going to send out this presentation to everyone who joined us today, and there were a few who registered that couldn't. So they're going to get this, and then we offer them some opportunity for some feedback and any follow-up questions. So we encourage you to open that email, guys, when you get it, please, and send us any feedback or questions. And you heard it from Tara. She's happy to address anything that we didn't get to today. So thank you so much.
Stay well, guys.
Yeah.
Stay well, everybody.
Tara, you're awesome as usual. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.